Good evening. I could break it. Good evening, everyone. At this time, we are starting our Board of Education meeting. And while we welcome free speech, at this time we need to start our meeting and we expect cooperation from everybody in the audience. Thank you. Okay. We did. The meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand as our student board member leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call, Mr. Gorski?
Mrs. Arminio.
Here.
Mr. Braverman. Here. Mr. Chiarella. Here. Mrs. DeMayo.
Here.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Mrs. Lang.
Here.
Mrs. Carino.
Here.
Mr. Ryback. Here. Mr. Russo.
Here.
Mr. Rutsky. Madam Board President, you have a quorum present this evening.
Thank you.
In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted March 24th, 2018 at all schools, the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you. At this time, we will have the approval of the minutes for the Public Board of Education meeting of February 21st, 2018. Moved by Mr. Ryback.
Second.
Second by Ms. DeMayo. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Braverman is opposed? You're not opposed?
Abstain,
Oh, he's
thank you.
abstaining. Any other abstentions? Mr. Russo is recusing. Okay. And the approval of the minutes for the closed session meeting of February 21st, 2018. Mr. Ryback?
Second.
Second by Ms. Arminio. Again, any additions or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Abstentions. Are you abstaining, Mr. Braverman? No.
I think I was here.
For the closed session?
No.
No. He's abstaining. And Mr. Russo, you're recusing.
So noted.
Thank you. At this time, we will go to our presentation and public hearing of the 2018-2019 school budget. Dr. Kozak, Dr. Alvick, and Mr. Gorski.
Yep.
Yeah. Good evening, Board of Education, including student board member, parents, community members, staff. Tonight's presentation is the 2018-2019 budget presentation. Three of us will be speaking about this budget tonight: myself, Dr. Kozak, Mr. Gorski, and Dr. Alvick. Mr. Gorski put a considerable amount of time into this budget and the presentation. This budget presentation reflects the work of not only the leadership team, but certainly also the coordination with all of the staff and the administrators throughout the district. Okay, so the first or second slide is our Board of Education. Mrs. Kathy Kalpanovich, our Board President, Mr. Stephen Ryback, our Vice President, Mr. Marvin Braverman, Ms. Michelle Arminio, Mr. Ken Chiarella. Let me go back. Ms. Michelle Arminio, of course, is our Policy Chairman, Policy Committee Chairperson. Mr. Chiarella is our Chairperson of Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation. Ms. DeMayo, Ms. Jill DeMayo is our Curriculum Committee Chair. And we have Ms. Patty Lang, Ms. Dawn Carino, Mr. Frank Russo, and Mr. Paul Rutsky, our Jamesburg representative. Our Finance Committee, who works very closely with Mr. Gorski, myself, Dr. Albeck, and the rest of the board in finalizing this. The chairperson is Mr. Paul Rutsky. Mr. Frank Russo is the vice chair, Mr. Ken Chiarello, Ms. Jill DeMayo, and we have our Ms. Dawn Carino is our alternate, and Ms. Kathy Kalpanovich is ex officio. The vision statement of the district. The Monroe Public Schools, in collaboration with the members of the community, shall ensure that all children receive an exemplary education by well-trained, committed staff in a safe and orderly environment. Okay. And that is followed by our district goals. So I'm not going to go through each one, but I'll just talk about some of the general things within the district goals. We structured our goals a little different this year, and we put them in basically 4 different categories. Looking at academic achievement, communication, buildings and grounds, finance, and management of the operation. So the first goal, under improved student achievement, we have that we're going to continue to develop innovation through real world and project-based learning, explore programs and partnerships to advance STEM initiatives, utilize data to continue to improve student proficiency in language arts, math, and science, and develop the whole child through cultural awareness, character development, and an emphasis on a healthy lifestyle. This is not the end of the year report where we will go through each of those goals and provide data to support what has been achieved or not achieved for those goals. We did provide a mid-year report, but a couple things with that. The continue to develop innovation and the STEM initiatives. I think many of you, if you look through our schools, if you look at the Falcon Flyer, if you look at the school newsletters, if you look at other programs, can clearly see the innovative and the creative student learning that is taking place every single day throughout our district. And this is the work of our teachers, our principals, our directors, okay. So I get the trigger word. Every time I say teachers, it's going to be applause. Okay. And in collaboration with our students, and let us not forget the work of our parents and our community members who are very valuable and our partners in education. But the students continue to excel and to demonstrate their knowledge and their innovative practices and learning opportunities, and they're utilizing critical thinking and they're developing their communication. We're doing this, of course, by looking at data from many different assessments. Either our MAP data, we use PARC data, we use local assessments, benchmark, of course, informal observations, project-based learning, many, many different ways that we look to ensure that our students are not only learning, but they're exceeding, that they're doing everything that they need to do to be successful in both college and a career. And this is a different concept for us this year, although it's not entirely new, and that is to develop the whole child. We looked at many different facets, and Dr. Albeck has done a very nice job of leading a committee of our staff members to look at various aspects of what we consider the whole child. So it includes, of course, other subject areas other than kind of the core that we look at, but it also looks at the emotional well-being of our students, So we're looking, and we have a project, and I'm sure Dr. Alvick will talk about this a little bit, where we're looking at reducing the stress that some of our students are experiencing. Hopefully working on developing strategies to help them to better deal with anxiety, to better deal with difficult decisions that they may face throughout their life. These are really important lifelong skills, and they're broken out into different areas. So I think that's very important, and just as important, if you will, to our work with academics and technology and other areas. So that is part of our whole child awareness, the cultural awareness, the character development, and an emphasis, of course, on a healthy lifestyle. Our second goal is to improve school facilities. If you look around, I think it's clear that our facilities are in excellent shape, and kudos to Mr. Tagg and his team. And, you think about all the snow that we received really late in the season this year, and how hard, well, many of us were looking out at the window and having a coffee or a tea and saying, wow, is the snow ever going to end? Our committed staff was out there clearing the facilities, making sure that the facilities were safe for our students, and our staff coming back. And of course, throughout the year and every year, keeping the buildings in good shape, clean, keeping the roofs repaired, keeping everything that, anything that breaks, to making sure that it's fixed. So there's a couple other things. Also, this budget will talk about the temporary classroom units slated for the middle school for next year, of course, to deal with our student overcrowding. Looking at the land for an expanded school bus parking, continuation of our capital improvement programs, and of course, we're always looking for safety grants. And to develop and present a referendum, which we know unfortunately was defeated by 143 votes, but it did go out to the community. And that's the important thing, I think, that it went out to the community, and now the Board of Education and the administration will go back and look at that data and review to decide on what the next steps will be. The third goal, increase community involvement. We are always looking to continue or to improve upon our communication with the staff, with the parents, with the community. We did a number of presentations this year, specifically on the referendum, but that's not all. We also have communication going out into our adult communities. We have communication going out to our parents. We try to make ourselves available to anyone who has a concern. The other part of that is to collaborate with the community stakeholders in the continuation of our one-to-one initiative at the high school. And that has occurred. We've had several meetings back, I think it was October, November, starting around that, and continuing through, and collected a lot of data on that, which we are presenting. Well, we presented to the curriculum committee, and we will present to the finance committee at the next finance committee meeting. The improved management and operations. First thing on there is continue our efforts to seek fair and equitable state aid funding. And thank you to many people in this room that went to Trenton and lobbied and spoke and wrote letters and did all types of different things. Last year we had $458,000, and this year, $98, and this year 300 and some thousand, and Ms. Gorski will give us the exact number, I'm sure, in a little bit. That speaks volumes to the work and to the power of collaboration, of working together with the community, of going to our government officials, our legislative officials, and lobbying and saying this is important, that Monroe Township receives its fair funding. And of course, to continue to the spending efficiency and best fiscal practices. Next, we have our board goals. Thank you. And our board set 3 goals: to evaluate and adopt a plan for enrollment growth and facility needs, to continue professional development for board members, and to improve committee communication and reports with board members. So the executive summary for this budget. This budget was set within the parameters of the budget philosophy that was adopted last, I believe it was late summer, maybe early fall. And that was to prepare a comprehensive budget that would meet the needs of 452 projected additional students to address aging facilities, and without the expectation of additional state aid, and also by suppressing taxes by maximizing budget savings through surplus and the use of reserves. This budget has been developed, it has been reviewed by our County Board of Education, I'm sorry, not our County Board of Education, our County Office of Education, the Executive County Superintendent, and the County Business Administrator. It has gone through many phases, including budget defense rounds with our leadership team, has been presented to the Board of Education and the Finance Committee, and it is what we believe is an excellent budget that we can present to the Board of Education and to the public tonight. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Allen.
Okay, so as we started to plan for this budget cycle, there were several things that we took into consideration as we were looking at where we were going to allocate funds. One of the first thing is we continue to get students. We all know that, so we are expecting a projected 452 students for next year. So that was one of the considerations as we were adding to creating the budget. We also always look at our aging facilities. Some of our buildings need some work. The boiler at Brookside is a priority. Our core curriculum content areas, so we want to ensure that we're continuing to give our students the best education that we can give them, and we want to make sure we're supporting our teachers in professional development, in resources, and we're continuing to do that. As always, we are aware of our student and teacher ratios. That's something we keep a very close eye on at the board office, and making sure that we have enough teachers to help our students. That's one of the reasons we're adding trailers next year, so that we could help that at the middle school. And we also have to be aware of the tax impact on our community. So this is the budget creation timeline. So we start way back in October for the following school year, preparing the budget for this presentation. We begin with a meeting with the Board of Education where a budget philosophy is established, and then the board agrees to that budget philosophy and approves that. We start looking at our enrollment figures. We have a review of our staffing needs. We then begin at the building level and the administration level with creating building budgets. These building budgets go through budget defense rounds, where they start with each principal meets with the administrative team up at the board office, and we go through their budgets line by line and take a look at them. We make sure that the budgets are aligned across schools so that we have equity across our schools, and we make sure that the schools get what they're requesting. Then there is the governor's budget address, which Mr. Gorski waits for anxiously every year to find out exactly what our allocations are going to be. Because we had a new governor this year, it was a little late, which did then change our board meeting this month, unfortunately. But with that, Mr. Gorski finds out what our award of state aid is. That gets included into our budget figures. We then come to this Board of Education meeting where we present the preliminary budget, and it gets adopted, hopefully, by the Board of Education, and then we will have one more public hearing in April for the final budget approval. So as we were going through the budget, one of the things we want to remember is all of the accomplishments that we've made throughout the year. So our school last year, we had over 90% of our students attending college. 1.1% of our students, this is the 2017 graduates, 1.1 of our students is going to a career or a technical school. 1.2% of our students entered the military academy. One of ours going to the prestigious Naval Academy. We had, some of our students did enter the workforce, and we did have some that were undecided or did not graduate. So that's something that we work on, and we try to keep that number low. We are continuing to score very high with our AP tests, and our students are scoring above a 3, which is what the passing score is on our AP tests. Monroe Township High School, every year, scores above the average and continues to increase their scores in the SAT and ACT tests. And this year, we will have 27 students achieving the seal of biliteracy as seniors as they're graduating. So what items are we including in this year's budget? One of the things we are continuing to do is implementing the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. So we're continuing to do that across all of our content areas, ensuring that our curriculum is up to date and available to all of our staff, and you have the resources that you need. We still are involved with the PARCC assessments. That is something that we are required to do. As Dr. Kozak mentioned earlier, one of the things we're trying to focus more on is supporting the whole child. I've been working with the committee on coming up with ways that we can support all of our students, their emotional needs as well as their academic needs, and you'll be hearing more about that as we progress through the year, because we've come up with a plan for that. Adding more AP courses. We offered more New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy assessments this year than we had last year. This is only the second year of the New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy. Increasing professional development for our staff. We also cover the professional memberships for many of our staff members, specifically the ones that if you're required to be a part of a professional membership in order to take our students for competitions. And continuing PSAT for our 10th graders, 11th graders, and AVID is continuing and growing. This presentation will be available on the website starting tomorrow, so you'll be able to see these a little more closely, but what I've included in here are some of the great projects that are happening in our schools. We are continuing to do projects with our students. Our teachers come up with these ideas. We've shared them at different board meetings where we've had the student presentations. The MTA has provided FAST grants for some of our teachers to support some of the other programs that are going. We are also implementing the next generation science standards and STEM and maker spaces in all of our schools. So we have a lot of great activities happening under those titles. Technology across the grades. We're continuing to implement technology to the best of our ability to meet the needs of our students and to help them in the 21st century world. Our athletic and co-curricular programs are doing a fantastic job. Congratulations to our cheerleaders who just won the nationals. Many of our teams have won state and county championships this year, and we've had many students signing already with colleges for their scholarships for athletics. Our special education program is above any of the other ones that I know about in the area, and we are continuing to offer programs to our students. Unified Sports expanded this year to 3 different sports. I had the pleasure of enjoying one of the basketball games that Mrs. Dillon works with those students and works with that group of students, and they did a fantastic job. But there's a lot going on with our unified sports. There's many activities for our students in all of the schools, and our high scope curriculum in our preschool. So that is continuing. We are, as we have in the past, trying to get more buses so that we are not contracting out as many buses. So we're trying to look, in this budget are a few more buses. Mr. Gorski will talk more about that. Also in this budget are temporary trailers, temporary portable classrooms for the middle school for next year, and a new boiler HVAC replacement at Brookside. So specifically for transportation, we're looking at 9 54-passenger buses, 1 25-passenger van, which includes some additional drivers with benefits, a GPS bus locator monitoring and tracking system for our buses, and 2 additional transportation paraprofessionals. So continuing to add to that. Capital improvement. So as we were talking about our aging facilities and what we need for our facilities, Brookside's, I already mentioned it, the boiler and HVAC unit is 29 years old, so looking to replace that. Replacing the caged turf field here at the high school bleachers, the foods rooms at the middle school. Oh, the counters, that's right. Yeah, the counters at the middle school. We did get them some new appliances this year, but replacing the counters at the middle school and the foods room. Looking at the middle school, the design of a middle school roof and HVAC equipment, and again, the 10 trailers, portable classroom units at the middle school. So those are all capital improvements for consideration, but we're also looking at how can we afford those. So looking at what money is coming in. So we've made money through the ECE Falcon Care program. So some of that will go towards that, and we have capital reserve. And I know Mr. Gorski will go into more detail about that.
Thank you, Dr. Albick. This slide shows where does the money come from. I hate to see what happens when we get to the tax impact. Money comes from fund balance, which is administration's management of the budget. Every year, we do our best through purchasing consortiums, bidding and quoting, purchase order freezes, to roll over about $6 million of surplus, which generates as a revenue source to a future year's budget. We are also transferring money from the Falcon Care ECE program, which has earned $1.1 million in its first 2 years of inception. Unfortunately, as many know, the majority of the budget comes from local taxes, and we'll talk a little more about that later. Turn back a little bit. Tuition from Jamesburg represents 3.34% of revenues. And I would like to speak on behalf of Jamesburg's Board of Education at this meeting. Mr. Rutsky is not here, but the Jamesburg Board of Education has increased the amount of tuition they're paying to Monroe above what is required by the agreement with Monroe by $143,000, and depending on their budget, they may make an additional $100,000 payment towards the indebtedness and their eagerness to get that paid off as soon as possible. Transportation fees and jointers, miscellaneous revenue, extraordinary aid reimbursement. State aid is only 3%, and federal aid is only less than 1%. So the majority of our revenues come from local taxes. 88% of all the revenues required comes from local taxes. That's unprecedented. You will not find another district with a greater percentage. Key facts on our state aid. There are two types of state aid. Equalization aid is the largest type. It's designed to support a district's adequacy budget. The state determines how much equalization aid you get based on two financial metrics: income and property wealth. Income comes from the aggregate amount of your New Jersey 1040s, that 4-digit municipal code segregates districts by municipalities, and property wealth comes from your net valuation of rateables. Those two items for Monroe indicate that we are higher in income and property wealth than the majority of school districts, and we are not entitled to any equalization aid. So the state, with its limited resources, has determined that Monroe's taxpayers have to pay for the adequacy budget, of which about 2/3 is mandated from the state. The next item is categorical aid. That consists of various categories that we are eligible for, such as special education aid, transportation aid, security aid. One of those in particular, transportation aid, went up quite a bit this year because we have the most efficient transportation department in the county and among the very highest in the state. Let's talk about general fund state aid. This year, we received an increase because Governor Murphy wants to bring our district to full funding. Now, that will take Monroe's revenues to as much as $4.6 million, which is a 41.9% increase from where we were last year. The governor is phasing this in over a 4-year period. We received 25% of that this year, which is approximately $344,000 of additional general fund aid. This district has done a Herculean job fighting for more state aid. You will not find another district that has done more, has testified before more audiences, has gone all the way to the governor's office, and even written our own legislation to get more aid. We will continue that fight because one of the areas that you don't see here is the amount of general fund aid that we're entitled to. Tomorrow I'm going to post to the website our actual state aid award, which looks like this. And it indicates that Monroe is eligible for $9.1 million of total state aid. However, the state of New Jersey, with their limited resources, can't distribute what the School Funding Reform Act of 2008 qualifies districts for. So just like you've seen with your shower head at home with the restrictor, they have growth limits on funding, which limits the amount of revenue that each district gets. And that takes the $9.1 million down to this figure here, 4.6. That is the area that we must fight first to get rid of the growth limits because they are grossly unfair to districts like Monroe, who are growing by hundreds of students each year, small elementary school sizes of students each year. And then we need a new funding formula to better serve Monroe's interests. I handed out handouts for sources of revenue and state aid history. Those are labeled A, B, and C. A, once again, starts off with fund balance. That is one of the areas that management can manage the most, and that is our effective and efficient management of the budget, which rolls over every year of between $5 and $6 million of surplus. We are transferring $600,000 from Falcon Care ECE. Local taxes has been consistent in the high 80s% of the total. Jamesburg's paying more, state aid went up a little bit, federal aid is flat, and that's where all the revenues come from. Next is Schedule B. All of these will be posted to the website tomorrow. Schedule B shows a multi-year history of Monroe's state aid, which unfortunately illustrates that we received no equalization aid going back to the inception of this schedule. And back in the 8-9 school year, we lost 98% of our aid and we're left with $240,000 to run this school district from the state. And it's bounced up from there, but we are still grossly underfunded. We receive 30% less aid now than we did 6 years ago with 30% more students. And finally, we have Schedule C, which shows a comparative schedule of appropriations. Appropriations are future expenditures that are in the budget, and you will notice the consistency in these appropriations. And in salaries, we have estimated, because we're out of contract, 3.5% for teacher salaries. And I want to talk about one of the largest items in the budget next, which is healthcare expenses. The district contracts privately with Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield as opposed to the state health benefit plan. And Horizon is a monopoly in New Jersey markets. They control 70% of the market share, and they dictate to school districts, including those in the state health benefit plan which they manage, what the premiums are going to be each year. Monroe's initial premium increase this year on an account that's over $23 million in size was an 11.5% increase. That is more than we can grow the entire budget with the tax levy cap. And this has been one of my areas of focus, has been negotiating with our broker against Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield. And this was the first year where we came very close to severing our relationship with Horizon. And I had a contract in hand to recommend to the Board of Education to switch to Aetna, because Aetna came in at a 5.7. Horizon would not move. They said, we're going to come down to a 10.5, take it or leave it. So I had a 10.5 from Horizon or a mid-5 from Aetna. And it was only until I was ready to sign contracts and meet with Beth Ann and the other union members to talk about this, did Horizon come in and say, we don't want to lose you, you're too large of a client. We're going to come down and match basically Aetna's figure. So we will be staying with Horizon once again. That is the name brand of insurance. But to quote Jim Morrison, the future is uncertain and the end is always near. Next year will be much more difficult because the competitive quotes that I've been soliciting each year to play against Horizon, those entities are becoming frustrated when they didn't get our business. So from going from 11.5 down to 5.3, I saved this district $1.3 million, $1,355,786 in health insurance premiums. What does that mean to you? The average employee through Chapter 78 deductions will save hundreds of dollars because of these negotiated savings. That's why this is important. Budget appropriations are driven by enrollment. So many people have said over the years, why can't you come up with a budget with a tax decrease? Sure we could if we had flat enrollment, or like a lot of our colleagues have declining enrollment, that would be easy. But we're picking up over 450 students this year, and you could see the escalation. This is how our enrollment has matched with our state aid award. And as I said before, over the past 9 years, we have a $2.1 million decrease in state aid, which is 30%, while our enrollment went up 1,683 students, a 30% increase. That's outrageous that we have 30% more students than 9 years ago, and the state's contributing 30% less aid than back then. We all need to fight this together in order to get our fair share. Where does the money go? Over 60% goes to instructional services. Instruction, special education, tuition, 51.14%. Benefits, 19%, and the majority of those benefits are directly attributable to instruction. Transportation, almost 7%. Grants, less than 1%. Everybody would be interested in knowing that we have a grants director here who applies and solicits every external dollar that is available for grants. But once again, our affluence and income, our number of at-risk students and those on free and reduced lunch disqualifies us from a lot of grants, and that's the only reason why we receive less than 1%. Capital projects are less than 2%. Administration's less than 3%. Debt service is about 9%. Athletics, co-curricular, only about 1.3%. That's where the money goes. Over 60% is directly attributable to instruction. And as I mentioned, where does the money go? It's not in administrative costs. This slide tells it all. The gray is the county regional limit that keeps increasing every year, but Monroe's per pupil administrative costs is $1,462. It's less than the $1,555 that we had last year. So our administrative costs per pupil are declining, even though we're adding layers of administration to help with student enrollment. We already did the appropriations handout. Let's talk about cost savings from shared services. This is important in keeping the money in the classrooms. Food services. Nancy Mitrasak does a fine job providing lunches for the Academy Learning Center. We make $40,000 there. Excuse me, please be polite. Technology services. We provide services with the township. We have joint service arrangements saving $50,000. We participate in E-rate program, which is $125,000. Interlocal services agreement to share TV hosting, $50,000. Professional development with Jamesburg, $7,500. And show me another district that has created a proprietary fund that has become a cash cow generating over $500,000 a year of revenue that the district could use in any means it sees fit, as long as they pass a resolution. This year, $600,000 got transferred to help offset trailer costs. Purchasing consortiums, interlocal service agreements, recycling, transportation services, and insurance. Once again, $1,355,000 decrease in health insurance through our negotiations, and I have a documentation here for that. Here's a chart of our comparative health insurance rates. The green represents the state health benefit plan, which is the state-run standard for health benefits. The blue is the rates that Monroe has negotiated every year with Horizon. This is not only a fiscal best practice for a school district, but for any entity, public or private. We have controlled health insurance costs that the median is below 6% every year. Without this, we would not be managing growth as effectively as we have. And we have very generous, rich health plans that we all enjoy. We've done a fantastic job keeping the costs down. What factors influence the tax rate? Obviously, state aid. If Monroe had the state aid that South Brunswick had in terms of equalization aid, $30 million, we could have a tax reduction and cover every cost that you could think of, but we don't. Fund balance is one area that we can manage, and we've done very effectively $6 million. Ratables is a topic to talk about because ratables shares the tax levy. That's how the tax levy is raised and brought in. Monroe is a growing community. All of the new residents, although they contribute to infrastructure demands with the need for new schools, they do contribute to the ratable base, and that's grown almost 2% above last year, and that reduces everybody's tax rate. An increased student enrollment effect on appropriations. And now to conclude, how does this affect the tax situation here in Monroe? In 2016, we rolled out a budget with a 4.5-cent increase, which was $138 on an average assessed home. In 2017, 3.5 cents, or $108 on an average assessed home. In 2018, last year, we were below a 1-cent increase, $27.85 on an average assessed home. And this year, because of the demands of growth, we are at 1.7 cents, or $52 on an average assessed home. This is an extremely attractive tax situation that this Board of Education has put together over the last 4 or 5 years that shows our desire and our sensitivity to the taxpayers in Monroe in providing the very best programs and services for students, the very best environment, and compensation programs for our staff, while maintaining a responsible tax impact for our community. And as I mentioned, we will continue to earnestly fight for more state aid because it will help across the board. Thank you.
Madam President,
Ms. Arminio?
will we be able to ask questions now?
Yes, we are. We're
going
going to have a motion, and then we'll be able to open it up to the board for comments or questions. So, Mr. Gorski, at this time, could you please read the resolution? And may we have a little less of a roar out in the public so that we, board members, can hear what is happening. Thank you.
Thank you. It is recommended to the Monroe Township Board of Education that the 2018-2019 tentative general fund budget be adopted in the amount of $117,900,000 $715,842, and a tentative general fund local tax levy in the amount of $101,353,868, and a tentative special revenue fund in the amount of $1,192,974, and a tentative debt service budget in the amount of $11,397,213, and a tentative debt service local tax levy in the amount of $10,970,185, whereby the tentative 2018-19 budget totals $130,306,029, and whereas the Monroe Township Board of Education has been notified of state aid amounts, and whereas such state aid amounts are, for the 18-19 categorical special education aid, $2,434,917, and for the 18-19 categorical security aid, $103,764, and for the 18-19 categorical transportation aid is $1,096,417, and for the 18-19 debt service aid is $427,023, and whereas the Monroe Township Board of Education has estimated a state aid amount pursuant to application, and for 18-19 the estimated extraordinary aid amount is $350,674, and whereas policy 6471 and NJAC 6A23A 7.3 provides that the Board of Education shall establish in the annual school budget a maximum expenditure amount that may be allotted for travel and expense reimbursement for the 18-19 school year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Monroe Township Board of Education hereby establishes the school district travel maximum for the 18-19 school year at the tentative sum of $1,124,311. And be it further resolved that the school business administrator shall track and record these costs to ensure that the maximum amount is not exceeded. And be it resolved that the members of the Monroe Township Board of Education authorize and approve a withdrawal from the capital reserve account in the amount of $890,800 to Fund 12 Construction Services, account 12-000-400-450, for the emergent replacement of HVAC equipment and a boiler system at Brookside School, which project is included in the district's long-range facility plan and has been assigned an appropriate project number 23-3290-050-18-1000. And whereas as a result of the extraordinary budget efficiencies created by the administrative stewardship of the budget, which provided alternative revenues in the 18-19 budget, such as the transfer of $600,000 of Falcon Care ECE retained earnings to offset instructional trailer costs, and a fiscal best practice of very effectively controlling escalating health care costs, the board has not exceeded the maximum spending authority and furthermore has not used the $600,000 of bank cap created in 16-17. Now therefore let it be resolved that the superintendent of schools and the business administrator board secretary file the appropriate required documents with the executive county superintendent of schools.
Second.
I need a motion. Did you move it?
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Mayo and second by Mr. Ryback, and now I'll open it to the board for any comments or questions. Ms. Arminio?
I'd like to go through a couple things. So on the executive summary where we're talking about 452 projected additional students, did Ms. Alvick say next year, or is that over?
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to have,
Madam,
Yes.
can I address that? Again, these budget slides are all going to be on the website, and they contain a great wealth of information. And in the executive summary, it states that next year we will have to meet the need of 452 additional students. Where does that figure come from? That comes from the ASSA state count of students as of October 15th, 2017, to the projected number, which is only 1 year out, from Ross Haber and Associates. At this juncture, where we compared it to that estimate, it appears that we are right on track and will meet that number.
in 1 year.
452 additional students are being provided for in this budget, and that's extraordinary. If everybody can visualize what 452 students looks like, it's a small school by itself, and we've been picking that up regularly every year.
Okay.
By the way, I don't want to be wordy, but this is the most intensive year projected on the enrollment projections.
And-
The next one or two are very high.
And the board
enrollment
itself has really no power to change any of the construction or approvals or the impact that it has. We have actually, we can't do anything about the impact on our schools. We just have to house the children when they get here.
That is an accurate statement.
Unfortunately, we don't have any say in how the construction, the rapid construction is. Well, okay. So the budget development, okay, the question, April public hearing. I have a couple other questions. Let me go to the resolution. So the total budget for 2018 to 2019 is projected at this point for 130, I'm not going to read the small numbers, $130 million. That's our operating budget, or is that the total budget?
That is the sum of all budgets, general fund, special revenue fund, capital project funds, and debt service fund.
Okay, so when we talk about the tax levy, it says on here that the tax levy is $101 million, and then the debt service tax levy is $10 million. This is all plus, almost $11 million. So our total tax levy is almost $112 million, is that correct? Do those two numbers get added together?
Yes, if you go to Schedule A, which
Right.
is one of the handouts,
Right,
there's a line called local taxes. It adds up general fund and debt service fund, and you are correct. The total is $112,324,053. 86% of the total revenues
Right.
comes from taxation of
So-
our residents.
so that's the amount of taxes we're going to be asking the community to pay for the 2018, 2019 budget
Yes, ma'am.
at this point. Okay.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I think I got that part. Let me see. I think right now I'm okay. I may ask another question, but I'll let somebody else do so if they need to.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Gorski, I know that we got an award of, I'm sorry, Mr. Russo,
It appears you did a very good job with the budget. There was a lot in
could you
there.
use your microphone?
It appears you did a very good job with the budget. There is a lot in there. I was looking to see if there was a line item for respect. Is that here anywhere? Is it-
The gentleman's question, is there a line item for respect? Respect for our teachers is contained on every appropriation line item in the budget.
It's in every line item.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back to another
Oh,
question.
Ms. Arminio.
Okay, so on the general fund state aid page, where we're talking about $4 million, 41.9 increase from the state aid, but that's an anticipated and not yet awarded state aid?
The
Is that
state-
promised to us?
The state aid has been awarded, and I said tomorrow I'm going to put our state aid actual notice
Right.
on the website where the residents can see how this is calculated. It's worth taking a look at if you're interested. This is probably going to be actualized. There was one year where they pulled this back mid-year when they ran out of money and their state revenues dried up.
Right,
That is always a possibility. And that's why it's so important to continue to save and manage the budget effectively so that if you have that kind of shortfall, you have resources to transfer to make it up so you're not riffing teachers or cutting programs mid-year, which other districts have done.
Okay,
We've never had to do that
so
here.
my question is, has the state legislature formalized this award or formalized their budget in order for us to actualize this number?
Yes. The
They
only
have?
the only line item on there that is estimated is extraordinary aid, which is a reimbursement of some of our out-of-district special education costs.
So we don't have to just anticipate that we're going to get this for sure?
That is our award. We've received it in full for the last several years, and I expect to receive it in full again.
Okay, it's an expectation still, though. I want to really be clear. We don't have the check yet.
We do not have the check yet. They send
Okay.
it every month.
Okay, so it is sent in increments every month, and it's supposed to total by the end of 2019, $4,668,983.
Yes, ma'am.
So Okay, so we're just not getting it up front. So it could take over a year to do so.
Correct.
Okay, so are we going to keep tabs on that number, and you'll let us know if when we
As
don't
soon as
get
the
it?
budget, it's a very good question, and as soon as the budget is adopted, we set up a set of books for next year, and that's one of the first journal entries to book the accounts receivable from the state of New Jersey, and that's managed throughout the year. Every month when we get a payment, we apply it against the receivable. We do the same thing with the tax levy from the township.
Do we have a separate, like, bank account, and they wire that in every month? I mean, or is that just coming into the general fund?
The state does wire the money in every month into the custodian bank account.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Any other board members have questions or comments? Ms. Arminio, are you?
I just wanted to point out again that Mr. Gorski said that we have 2.1 million decrease in state aid since 2009 on the,
From the budget printout,
right.
if you turn to the one with the effects of growth compared with the state aid award, which is the graduation caps with the money bags,
Yeah,
at the top of the page, it indicates that 9 years,
okay,
we've received a reduction in state aid compared to 9 years ago of $2,109,648, which is 30% reduction,
okay,
while our enrollment's gone up 1,683 students, a 30% increase.
okay, that's
These
in
are
our
supposed to
numbers.
go
Okay,
with-
The other way.
with a
Yeah.
direct relationship, and it's inverted here, obviously.
well, I think we talked about this way before the election, about our representatives in the state, so I hope people don't forget to keep contacting them. They made promises to get us this money and more, so I hope that this budget, we will get some more relief from that, and, you know, we have to, it's not just the local people, but we pay state taxes as well, so I hope that they come forward with their promises. People supported them from this community. I hope they show that they support us now.
Mrs. Lang?
Mr. Gorski, I remember, okay, so the aid that we were increased this year was $344,000, right?
General fund state aid increased $344,000, which is a 25% installment of full funding with the growth limit still in place.
Okay, and didn't we lose aid also in that process? I remember seeing something that we lost actually 120,000 of that because of but I don't remember, I have to be honest, I don't remember the quite specifics, and I don't know where it is.
Yes, ma'am. In Schedule B, it indicates that while the general fund went up on its 4-year course to full funding with the growth limit in place, our maturing debt schedules disqualified us for the amount of state aid through the debt service aid line that we received last year. And we received a reduction in debt service aid, which when you net the two together, the 344 plus the loss of debt service aid, we only netted $135,973 of state aid this year.
Okay, thank you, that's what I had thought that was the case, thanks.
That was the same question I was going to ask. Okay. Anyone else from the board have any comments?
So we're getting demerits essentially for paying our debts off?
Yes, ma'am. The state reimburses principal and interest costs on the existing amortization schedules, and they are maturing and the principal's reducing, and that disqualifies us for the amount of aid we got in previous years. Had the referendum been successful, we would be getting more debt service aid.
Oh,
Because that 7.1 million that we talked about for the project would be over a 30-year life of the bonds, but a lot of it's upfront. So
okay, thank you.
hopefully we'll be getting more debt service aid soon.
Mr. Ryback?
Thank you. So many of your words about the state made me think
Can't
of
hear
something.
you,
I said
Mr.
your words about the state legislators made me think of this. So I'm going to throw this out. As far as what we're entitled to if I'm not mistaken, our transportation is exemplary, and I think we're entitled to get more state aid because of that. And I think that's something we have to remember to push for when we speak to these legislators.
Madam?
Yes.
That's going to be on the state aid printout that I put on the website. Once again, and I don't mean to be redundant, but Monroe qualifies under the state's own model for funding school districts, which is the School Funding Reform Act of 2008, for $9,123,620. But because the state doesn't have the revenues to fully fund the formula, they do it, they're phasing in the fully funding, but they still have the growth limits in place, which restrict how much your budget can grow. And that difference is about $5.5 million that Monroe is losing an entitlement to because the state can't fully fund their own formula. It's outrageous.
But may I? But if we've had growth limits over the years imposed on by the state, correct?
Yes.
But if those limits are eliminated, it may be worse, that our budget could grow in enormous, I mean, it would be allowable, and it might be dangerous overall for the community. Is that not correct? I mean, so there's a double-edged sword to losing growth limits.
Don't confuse the growth limits on state aid award with the growth limits on the tax levy cap.
Well,
The growth
they
limits
both
on the
go-
state aid award restrict our award by $5.5 million. We want those to go away. We want that money that we're entitled to under the formula.
Will that go in the same direction, though, as a cap? I mean, will they
It would
eliminate
go
them both?
against the cap. It would reduce the tax levy. It would reduce
Right.
taxes.
So if they maintain the cap, though, the cap might not be maintained either in this new climate,
Correct.
which can also be a detriment.
Correct.
Anyone else?
I do have one
Oh,
other question.
Mrs. Lang?
I'm sorry. So we did meet our obligation and stayed within our 2% cap.
We are at cap.
At
We
cap.
did not use the bank cap. We have $600,000 of bank cap that was intentionally excluded from incorporation into the budget because we wanted to hold that to offset the incredible amount of costs that we will incur when we open a new school. That will happen in the future, hopefully next year, and we will need that money desperately at that time.
Okay, thank you.
That doesn't say, though, that this is not a very comprehensive budget. You know, we have $1.5 million for total trailer costs. We have over 30 new staff, 9 buses, 1 van, a capital project that most districts accrue and then go out for a bond referendum for once they have an assortment of these projects. We've been doing it every year in the budget, within our cap.
Within our cap. Excellent. Thank you.
And Dr. Alvick and Dr. Kozak. And this goes all the way down to the zero-based budgeting that we deploy here, which starts with teachers and bus drivers at the most minimal level to determine what they need from next year. And that's given to the principals who do school-based budgets, and then we get insurance rates and put it all together district-wide. We don't roll over numbers on budgets like others may.
Thank you.
Mr. Russo, did you have a question?
Just one more thing about the budget. You mentioned that you had some concerns about the trend. So it would be nice if you could just make that.
I do. What I communicated to the board previously is that the demands of growth on this budget are unsustainable with the current amount of revenues and the restrictions in place with the cap and the limits on state aid funding. Therefore, we are eating the seed corn of our excess surplus, and that number is depleting, and that will continue to deplete over time. We must push our legislators to either, number one, give us more state aid, which would provide a much-needed revenue source of a responsible nature, or number two, soften the tax levy cap and allow us to go a little more there because our demands of growth are exceeding our ability to meet it with revenues.
Okay. Anyone else from the board? Okay, at this time, I'm going to open up the floor to the public. If anyone would like to come up and make any comments on the budget, and just on the budget, we'll open it up to the public. We will adhere to our 4-minute timeline. This is just on the budget.
But I am in the budget, right? I'm a teacher? Salaries, health care, that was in the budget talk?
That's salaries and health care are in the
Okay.
budget.
Thank you, just wanted to be clear. Karen Bresky, 2 Namson Drive. I'm here today to express concerns as a parent, taxpayer, and teacher. I would like to point out a time about 5 years ago when the Board of Ed asked our union to help the district out when the economy was in pretty bad shape. During this time, big businesses were failing, and the people turned to the teachers to give back. Never do anybody else give back unless when the businesses are failing. The teachers did so without a fight, by freezing our salaries. For many teachers, that meant wondering how to supplement that loss. Now, fast forward a few years. Businesses are back, economy is back, and many of us are telling you that we are suffering, yet we don't get the same courtesy or respect. So maybe you don't exactly understand how we feel. So let's try an exercise. Often in my class, when students can't grasp a concept, I encourage them to visualize the problem and work through it in their minds. So if you will indulge me, please close your eyes. Now, I'm not going to put you in the shoes of a teacher, but on the other hand, I would like you to imagine that you are a parent of a teacher in this district. Now, your child comes to you and says, "Dad, Mom, after 10 years in my job in this district, 20 years in the field of education, working 2 jobs in this district, and after paying my medical benefits, I make about $57,500 a year. Also this year, I have not had an increase because our Board of Ed cannot see the value of my work. In addition, if the board continues its patterns, I will experience negative net pay and go to work every year, making less money because of the amount of my medical benefits that I am being charged." So, what do you visualize right now as your response to your child as a mother or father? Do you encourage your child to stay in a job where they are undervalued, where they will not continue to move up a guide, but actually make less money? Or do you encourage them that there are better things out there where people will value the work they do and reward them for their accomplishments? At this time, you can open your eyes, and for those of you that participated, I appreciate it. I am sure we can all imagine your answer right now. Like many of us, we are considering our options. Maybe that is what you are hoping for, because inexperience is cheaper. I say this mostly to the parents in this town, and as a parent myself, I do not want inexperience for my children. I came here for the schools and for the teachers. I look around, and I heard tonight, we have the best of everything. In this district, we find money for all things, yet we cannot find the money to compensate the teachers who have proven themselves based on many different ratings. As a parent and as a teacher, I want the best for my children and me and them. I only have 4 minutes. That starts with paying their teachers their worth, so that they are not forced to make other choices. Finally, as a taxpayer, officials have made horrible decisions for years with our taxpayer money. And now we decide that teachers is where the cuts have to be made? Really? Think again, because we the teachers are not the problem, we are the product of the problem, and we beg you to fix it.
My name is Danielle Puglisi, 28 Brandon Avenue. And as a former Monroe student and graduate, it was always my dream to work in this amazing district because of all of the wonderful teachers that I will never forget who shaped me into the exact person I am today. Now, I've been teaching for 9 years in this district, and I'm still making under $50,000 and less each year. But I'm still here because I love my students. I love my supportive parents, the amazing coworkers and administration that I get to work with every day. However, I'm really not sure that I can afford to stay in a district that really doesn't respect the time, effort, and more than that, the heart and soul that I pour into this job every single day and beyond the hours I'm paid for. Please budget for a fair contract, or you're going to risk losing the amazing teachers that make our district so special and what it is.
My name is Sarah Aziz, and I live on 3 Lancelot Drive in Monroe Township. My son is a first grader in Miss Papandrea and Miss Pandolfi's class. My daughter is a 4th grader in Miss Lombardi's class. The school staff here has done a wonderful job with my children, and so I feel the need to be here and speak in their defense and to support them in their effort to get a fair contract. Many personal characteristics draw people into the teaching profession. Greed is not one of them. People do not decide to teach grades K through 12 because they expect it will make them millionaires. Rather, they do it because they love children, and they want to play a role in educating them and inspiring them to reach their greatest potential. Our whole society benefits from a well-educated workforce, and it is society that owes its teachers a debt of gratitude. Our teachers expect and deserve to be appropriately compensated for the vital work that they do. They have college degrees. Some of them have master's degrees and additional training, and they should not have to work 2 to 3 jobs to make ends meet. So if they are here requesting better compensation and benefits, it's certainly not because they're greedy, but because they want what's fair, a livable wage. Monroe Township Public Schools are ranked among the best in Middlesex County, and yet their teacher compensation is amongst the lowest. So this is a mismatch that needs to be rectified by the Board of Education before our best teachers leave this district. Finally, I want to mention the events in West Virginia and Jersey City where teachers have gone on strike to get better compensation. Teachers should not have to go on strike to get what is rightfully theirs. I urge the Board of Education to work quickly with our teachers to provide them with a fair contract before our teachers also consider going on strike. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Danielle Cipolla, 10 Gloria Lane. At 18, I remember my dad bringing me to get my first car and him saying, "You can get the car, but can you handle the payments?" I said, "Yeah, Dad, I make $10 an hour at the Hallmark store, I babysit, and I do children's parties." "Okay," my dad said, "as long as you're making enough and you can handle the payments every month." I remember at 26 years old, calling my dad and saying, "Dad, guess what? We found a house in Monroe where I teach. I love the district. The taxes are cheap, and my kids can eventually go to the schools." My dad said, "That's great, as long as you can handle the payments." I said, "Yes, Dad. My health benefits are included in my teacher package. I'll be at top pay in 14 years, and it's the best town." Well, since then, I'm now 38 years old. My first steps were frozen. Steps have been added on, and 14 years later, I'm on step 9. I have to pay into my health care for my whole family, and my taxes went from $10,000 to $16,500 in 6 years. The best thing about my job is I felt like we were one big family and appreciated. And Dory, I love you because you still support me. That feeling has changed. As adults, you should know if you want a positive climate, you need to create a positive atmosphere. When you're an employee of 26 first graders, teaching them to read at all different levels, teaching them almost every math skill they will need for life, teaching them to be kind and treat others the way you want to be treated, loving them as if they were your own, consoling them when they are hurt on the outside, and making their world sunshine and rainbows, because outside the classroom is a very scary place. I'm the most positive person in the world. Sometimes my husband says that's a default because I let so much positivity in. Well, now at 38 years old, I've called my dad crying, saying, "Dad, I'm sorry if I disappointed you. I can't afford my house because that amazing town I told you about and that district has let me down." I'm not sure what age your children are or your grandchildren, but make sure when you take them to get their first car or a big purchase, instead of asking them if they can afford the car, make sure you ask them if there's a chance that their employer can give them less than what was promised. I'll be sure to keep my chin up, teach my students with all my heart, and keep them safe from the deceiving, scary world out there. I do remind them every day to treat others the way they want to be treated, in hopes that when they get older, they will hear my voice. Never in my 14 years of working in Monroe have I felt so unappreciated and talked down, and I have major anxiety because of it. Thank you.
Sue Boza, grade 5 teacher at Applegarth. I should be right now at home putting my 2 6-year-old kindergarten daughters to bed, and instead I'm here, standing here after teaching tag after school, after then grading some more papers, actually grabbing a bite to eat, and then coming and rallying at 6:30. I've been doing this 18 years, and I'm tired of it. So I'm telling you, you're going to be losing even more awesome teachers than you've ever imagined. I can count at least 12 over the past 5-6 years that have left. It's pathetic. And I'm really disheartened. Look at all around you. We should be home. We should be with our families, but instead, we're here. So all I ask is for respect, exactly what's on the back of our shirt.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Comey. I teach at the high school here. In listening to the budget presentation, one thing really struck me. In projecting a budget, I find it a little unsettling as an educator in this district that this board has projected our salaries, the salaries of the hardworking individuals in this room, conservatively. Conservative and fair are not synonyms. Any first grade teacher, many of which are here tonight, could have taught you that. So I just implore you to please budget a fair contract and not a conservative one. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Gary Ketzowski. I teach at Monroe Township Middle School. I would like to speak, but I will wait for respect and eye contact from everyone. Thank you. I feel unappreciated. We all feel unappreciated. The public needs to know a person has been hired at step 7A without proper certification or passing the praxis exam. Offered more money than many teachers. Some of those teachers with 3 degrees offered more money than them. If we had a competitive salary, that wouldn't be happening. That's why. We need a competitive salary. You're getting very scarce amounts of interviewees. Your applicants you're not getting the same as you used to. We deserve a fair and competitive salary. Stop the negative net. We deserve a fair contract. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Laura Steinberg. I am a parent of Monroe Township, and I'm a former teacher of the Freehold Regional High School District. Former because a lot of you guys in here know my son Robert. He's born with Down syndrome, and I resigned after 18 years teaching there because I had I'm blessed that I'm able to take care of him with my husband's salary. When I hear how low some of the teachers make in this district, I find it, for lack of a better word, disgusting. In 2002, when I went back after maternity leave, my daughter's a senior now, at this wonderful district, when I went back in 2002, they hired me back in 2002 at $57,000. And to hear some of these teachers make excuse my language, crap, makes me really sad, because when you hire new people, I want you to hire like the first round, like the first draft picks, you know, the best of the best, not the last, you know, the bottom, because all the good people are going to Manalapan Englishtown, to Freehold Regional. I mean, I left 6 years ago making 76, 6 years ago. I miss it tremendously. I tutor, I'm still involved, I love teaching. But I'm really sad because I really want these good teachers to stay here, because a lot of people are retiring at Freehold Regional High School District, FYI, high school teachers. I don't want you to leave because I still have 2 little ones coming in. And my daughter says wonderful things, but a lot of people are retiring from Freehold Regional High School, so I really think you guys need to think about hiring and keeping those first round draft picks, and not not hiring what the leftovers. And you know, if you really try, you can make it work. It's just what you choose to find what's important. And no matter the boiler, I mean, it's what you choose to find important. And the teachers should be important, because we know great teachers can teach in, we don't want a crappy environment, but it doesn't have to be, everything has to be the best, it has to look nice. The teachers have to be great, because that's really what makes education great. So I hope you guys really think about what's truly important and prioritize what's fair and what's right. Because like I said before, it's disgusting.
My name is Debbie DeBoer. I live at 109 Old Forge Road. Many of you know me. Been in the district a long time. Raised both my kids here. Both my sons went to the Naval Academy. Their wives are actually graduates of Monroe as well. And I've been here 25 years, and this last several as the coordinator for special education at the high school. I've seen all the changes that have happened in this district. And though we've gone through tough contracts before, I've stayed because I really feel dedicated, and I'm still excited about being a staff member here. I wish I'd been prepared to speak, because I would have actually written down some numbers instead of just being off the cuff like this. But you have to know that from my perspective at the other end of the spectrum, my salary, my take-home pay is less than 10 years ago, because it's really tough. I'm now paying, at top of the guide, I'm paying $8,000 to $9,000 a year. That's with my master's and with being the coordinator. In that amount of time, my raises have been $1,300, $300, $1,300, $300. So $3,000 increase in 6 years in my salary, and I'm out $54,000 in that same 6-year period that I did not have to pay before. This is not a position I want to be in at 61 years old, where I'm making less money, taking on less money than I did before. So that's heartbreaking for me, but I'm still here because I really do love Monroe, and I'm hoping for a better contract. The reason I'm standing here is because I've been one of the people interviewing for positions. We have a department of 39 teachers, 25 right now paraprofessionals at the high school. When I started here, it was Joe Cardone, myself, 3 other teachers, 5 of us in the special ed department, and it's grown to this size to where I have 50 people in my department right now. The heartbreaking part is going on these interviews to get new employees with Monica, prior to that with Marie, with Rob Goodall. It is difficult. It is so difficult to find quality people. And we have had to hire people. Fortunately, not recently, we're not hiring. We're covering with 6 classes for teachers because we can't find good candidates. We have 3 positions down right now because we chose to not hire people that we didn't feel were adequate. And that's not the position to be in. What really disheartens me now is that I've had 3 teachers come up to me in the last month, new, good special ed teachers at the high school, and ask me for letters of recommendation because they need to move on. They can't afford to stay here. And in my heart, I've really tried to encourage them to stay and wait out, see what the next contract is. The people are good, the district is good, the kids are great, hang in there. But I have to tell you, in my heart, when I know they can go over to Freehold and make $13,000 a year more, than they are right here. It's really hard for me to not tell them, at your age, just do it. But I haven't, by the way. I've tried to encourage them to hang in here. But I would just implore you to please give a lot of thoughtful consideration to what we're going through. Most of us are not here. We don't come here easily. We're not the type of people who are confrontational. We're here because this really does mean that much to us. So thank you. And I understand your concerns, too. Let me get this out.
My name is Hannah Torrey. I'm a senior here at Monroe Township High School. I'm also the senior class president. It just really, I really don't understand, because every single teacher here that teaches in this district goes above and beyond every single day to make sure that we are getting our education, and not only our education, but to make sure that we're okay. They don't have to do that. They don't have to stay after all these hours just to help us with a math quiz, when they could be going home or going to their other job that unfortunately they have to have because they're not getting paid what they need to be paid. You need these people to run the show. They should be your first priority because they make us their first priority. You are losing more and more of these amazing people, and I promise you, you might not find them again. So if you want to continue to thrive and to push forward, you need this group. You need every single one of them. So treat them with what they need to be treated with. That's all I gotta say.
My name is Sal Parikh. I'm also a senior at this high school. And again, I'd just like to highlight the excellent teachers I've had over the last 4 years or the last 8 years, even in middle school. I don't think I've ever had a single teacher that didn't care about my success. Every single one does way more than they have to. In fact, a lot of these teachers I don't see as just teachers, but mentors. Not only did they teach me the curriculum, they went above and beyond. They went up to me after class, or I went up to them after class, and I was able to just talk to them as people, and they would teach me about life. They'd give me direction about what I want to do, and you could tell they really cared. And just like before, how she used a visual, I like to use another visual. Imagine a great mansion, polished, but there's nothing inside. These teachers are the heart and soul of Monroe. Monroe, every township envies Monroe for this school system, which lately has been on the rise. But if we continue to have more and more people moving in and more of our best teachers leaving, what's going to happen? The answer is obvious. We're going to end up with just a downward spiral. And the school system isn't just for the students, isn't just for the teachers, isn't just for the administration, but everyone, whether it be property values or just that culture of living in Monroe. Right now, Monroe is the place to be, but who knows, in 5 years, if this continues, it's not going to be. And I'd just like to say that this is completely unfair, and to think about it. Because if you think about it, you're going to realize where your heart lies, and it's not going to be over there. It's going to be with here, in red, on this side of the room.
Let's hear it for kids making a difference. My name's Doug Dale. I live at 653 Spotswood Englishtown Road. I'd like to address the referendum situation as it applies to the budget. The referendum failed by 143 votes, and I'll bet the board could have found those votes if you respected your staff. There's way more than 144 resident staff members in this district who either didn't vote or voted no because we have no contract. Think of all the help you would have had from the MTEA. We would have voted. We would have had events at the schools to get voters to come out. We would have helped you promote this referendum. You now see how easier things can get done when we work together. My last yearly raise over 18 months ago as an 18-year, top of the salary guide district employee with a master's degree was a pitiful $300. According to the district referendum calculator, my taxes were to increase $272 a year if the referendum passed. Now I'm a speech therapist, not a math teacher,
but it's a pretty simple equation to figure out that if the referendum passed, my raise would have only been $28. If I was able to live in a more expensive home, that raise would have been in the negative, just to build that one school. We all know that there's 2 more schools that we need the referendum money. Now let's take into account that I have family benefits and pay the district back $11,809 a year for them. Doing the math again, that means that I not only pay my own sorry raise, but I can also pay the raises for 39 other teachers at the top of the salary guide, just on the money that I pay back to the district for health benefits. Now I know the money is to go to health benefits, but you see how much money we're talking about? Which brings me back to the referendum. Because this board won't negotiate from that 35% state scale on the health benefits, 144 plus votes of this referendum got lost. So was it worth it? At every board meeting we hear the same, we care so much and appreciate our staff from all of you. But here, we're at impasse going into year 2 without a contract. The board negotiation team needs to get realistic with what is happening in the state with Chapter 78 contributions if you want referendum-supported or valued dedicated employees to stay in this district. I work for NJEA. I know for a fact that other New Jersey districts are negotiating Chapter 78 fairly with their employees. This board, blaming Mr. Gorski and Ms. Kalapanowicz directly, is not negotiating like you care so much or appreciate your staff. Ms. Kalapanowicz and Mr. Ryback, have you forgotten when you were running for the board all the support you received from this association's members? I had your signs on my lawn. And now that's replaced with a no contract still working sign as you both sit on the board making decisions on my livelihood. You are not being reciprocal with support. This board and our association is usually used to working hand in hand. Yet because there is no contract, you shot this referendum, the district, and this whole town in the foot. Thank you.
Sabarito, 2 Barrymore Drive. This is probably my 6th time speaking, more or less the same speech. If you're sick of hearing it, I'm really sorry. I'm sick of having to come up here because these educators don't have what they should have, which is a fair contract. I'm here to speak in favor of our teachers and our staff and our drivers and our paras and urge that you settle on this contract. They deserve a fair contract, and this has gone on far too long. As I said in the last meeting, administrators, you are paid by taxpayers. That means you work for us. Board, you are elected by us. So do what we're asking you to do meeting after meeting and coming up here and speaking in support of these teachers, and I really feel like I'm speaking to the wall. I thank all of you for making eye contact today, for actually looking at us, because it is showing a sign of respect, which we had not seen in the past few meetings. We have an incredible group of teachers, and it is simply unacceptable that they continue to work without this contract. I have 2 children in district, and they have been privileged enough to have the teachers that they have had. And I say privileged because I mean it. They would not have the foundation in these early years that they need to reach their potential and to be successful if it were not for the teachers that came into their lives. I want to commend the following: Jean Barsa, Susan Huey-Kaluki, Lisa Papandrea, and Danielle Pandolfi for making one of my sons able to soar. It is amazing to see how he loves learning and is enthusiastic about going to school every day. And that is all thanks to them. I want to give a very special acknowledgement to Paula de Blasio. Both of my children were very lucky to have her in pre-K, and it was her that got them started on the right path. Most especially, I want to thank the educators for my son with autism: Jennifer Biddick, Jim Bowe, Annette Hardaby, and Stacy Libros. They have been the most amazing group of individuals to come into the life of my special needs son and to come into our life. Without him, he would not be able to continue to succeed. They gave him a life and a real chance at it. Jennifer Biddick will always be the teacher of reference in his life. It is thanks to her that he has this life and that he's going to have a chance in life. You just recently lost because one of your autism pre-K teachers resigned. That is a huge loss, and there are other children with a diagnosis that will not be able to have the foundation that my son had. I bring this up because you need to know that teachers mean something, not just to these children now, but as they grow, especially in the special needs community. We are simply not paying what is fair to them. Somebody else touched on it. They're not greedy. They just want what's fair. It's not fair that these teachers have to supplement and that everybody has an issue with them supplementing their income by having 2nd and 3rd jobs. Please settle this contract with our teachers and staff. Give them what they deserve in terms of salary, in terms of benefits, because we're going to lose them, and it's going to affect our education for our children and the futures of our children. Thank you.
Good evening. Mary Jo Caputo, Giancola, 224 Old Forge Road. I'm here to implore you to budget for a fair contract for the people in this room and the people who are not here with us this evening, but are part of our staff. It amazes me, Kathy, you and I have gone back a long, long time, and we've always worked for this district tooth and nail. And it stymies me why we cannot sit down at the table and budget for a fair contract. When the lights go out in this building and every other building and the parking lots are empty, Monroe Township is just a bunch of buildings. It is 7 to 5, 7 to 7 that these people come and make it alive and make us a stellar district. The buildings are useless without the quality people that we have. In my building alone, I've had the privilege of working in Mill Lake, and now I'm up at the middle school. In middle school, we've lost 2 stellar special ed people, and it's because of lack of funding and a better place someplace else. And I see that more and more, and I'm on my way out, but I admire these young people that come in. The men and women that come in here are people who are top-notch. You are not going to continue to get that. These are smart kids. They don't need to be here. They can start picking and choosing where they want to be. So I leave you this evening asking you to please sit down at the table, do what you've always done, go to bat for Monroe in the most positive way with the people who make Monroe who Monroe and what Monroe is. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Victoria DiCarlo. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Brookside. In fact, I was honored this year as Brookside's Teacher of the Year. I have been with this district for 13 years, and I hold a master's degree. The last 7 of those years, I have received less and less money every single year. I am being asked to do more and more work, and I am bringing home less and less money. Because of such, I get to live in an affordable housing unit. So let that sink in. I have taught in this district for 13 years, and as a single mother of a wonderful little girl, I cannot afford to live in anything more than an 800 square foot apartment. And this wonderful little girl who I speak of adores school and is in 1st grade and goes around talking about school all the time and saying that she'd love to be a teacher one day, but she can't because she won't be able to have a real house. It is also not lost upon me that our field is comprised largely of women. In a field made up of approximately 75% of a female workforce, it is not lost upon me that we are paid much less than we are worth. Our needs are being pushed aside by society and by this board. Well, guess what? Time's up. It's time for a change. And I think that you all deserve to be on the right side of change. And to do that, you need to budget for a fair contract. Plain and simple. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Riddick Patel. I'm a senior at the high school and have been in the district since 1st grade. Just in the last year, I have seen a huge impact that all these teachers have had in my life as I applied for colleges. Outside of the classroom and outside of the normal school day and its hours, teachers work extremely long hours just with extracurricular activities. I would hate for teachers not to be able to dedicate their time to running major clubs, such as Future Business Leaders of America, DECA, and Monroe Township Economics and Finance team. Along with that, without this time, they would not be able to write recommendation letters, as they have been a crucial part of me getting into my dream school. If teachers are not appreciated and properly compensated, they will have to work other jobs. If teachers are tied to these jobs, they won't be able to stay after and help prepare for AP exams or educate students further that need help. All these things have made a huge impact on my life, and these extracurricular clubs have made me into the person and leader I am today. Not only have these extracurriculars built specific character traits in me, but they have also built lasting relations with both teachers and friends. Through these clubs, like I said before, I developed my passion for finance. Without these extracurriculars, I would not even have realized my future career. All these reasons and more are why I would like to call for the board and everyone else to respect teachers, fairly compensate them, and appreciate all the hard work they've done for us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Achilles Reddy, a senior at this high school. Let me foreshadow to you what may happen if the teachers aren't given their desired contracts. Right now, Monroe is a growing city, and one reason for that is our prestigious schools across all the grades, from K to 12. As a result, our students have been getting accepted into top-tier schools and Ivy Leagues. However, none of that would have came without the help of our teachers from all the grades. Due to the fact that teachers don't receive their contracts for their work, there's a strong chance many of them will depart. And as a result, education within our district will decline and leave Monroe in the bottom of rankings.
So my name is Namit Sharma. I'm a senior at Monroe Township High School. So the other night at dinner, I was talking to my parents, basically reflecting on my high school memories. And I have a little younger sister going to the middle school in 8th grade. Extremely bright student. She's diligent, the hardest work ethic I've ever seen in my life. Extremely smarter than me. I seem really dumb compared to her. And I just want the best future for her, obviously. So my parents were like, Namit, how has the high school helped you? And throughout these 4 years of my life, I cannot explain the influence that all my teachers have had on me. So I'll give you an example. Mr. Giaquinto, he was here earlier, but he has honestly helped me so much throughout high school with the opportunities he's given me, the guidance he's given me. He single-handedly, along with other teachers and clubs such as FBLA, have helped me discover my passion, which is business. And I don't want to see teachers like that leaving. So my parents asked me at the dinner table that night, they were like, should Rhea go to Monroe Township High School, or should we send her to a private school like Petty? Now, I feel like I'd like to say that my classmates and I have been pretty successful during high school. So I'd love to say, yes, send Rhea to Monroe Township High School. Send her here. It's amazing, the opportunities are everywhere, and she will definitely flourish. But that's not gonna happen if teachers are not compensated properly. Like, teachers are the reason why we're here today. Our valedictorian, Rishabh Honda, has the highest ever GPA recorded in Monroe Township history. And that didn't come with just himself. Every teacher around him made him prosper. And that's what we want here. And looking at a township perspective, just looking at the Applegarth side of town, Stratford, Monroe Manor, Monroe Chase, many people are moving in on a daily basis just because our school system is so highly ranked. But if teachers are not compensated properly, people will decide to ditch this school district. People will decide not to move here. Tax revenues start going down for the township. Small businesses will decide to leave. This town will just basically become dead. And as someone who's lived here for almost 18 years of my life, I don't want to see that ever happen in my life. And teachers just need to be properly compensated just to make sure that every student, no matter how bright they are, has an equal opportunity to flourish and make themselves something. Thank you.
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. I'm tired, the teachers have been coming for last 3 or 4 months. And the buck stops here. The BOE is the decision maker for your salaries. So BOE is responsible and you all are responsible, so please do take care of our teachers. We taxpayers are ready to pay more. I tell you, that $47 increase, I don't care. I'm ready to pay for $150 increase because we need teachers. You all know, teachers, you all know what is the budget, state budget? $14 billion. $14 billion. And our teachers' average salaries are 57 to 60. Shame to the New Jersey. Out of $14 billion budget, how much Monroe gets? 3.6 million. That is peanuts. 0.02%. So we have to, you guys, all of us have to talk to the governor. But we are not going to leave BOE. BOE is responsible for teachers. That's it. I am equally disappointed with the budget, 3.6 million. What is it? Peanuts. Our school budget is $130 million or more. We, the public, are taxed twice by these politicians, and it is time we act on that. The referendum, now I'm hearing the teachers did not support the referendum. That, I don't know that's a fact, but that is not good. With respect to referendum, that's true? That I'm very sorry. You know, we need teachers' support. Next referendum, make sure by next month the contract is signed. We have a new referendum for middle school, high school, and full-day kindergarten. That is the way to go. If you guys cannot sell the budget, I will go to each community and talk and hug the naysayers, and we will keep it moving. We need vibrant, best school. We'll have vibrant society here. We'll be all united. That is the way to go. One thing I didn't like, you know, Oak Tree, at 6 p.m. there was 1 hour waiting line to vote. One table. That is the way you all plan? 1 hour waiting line at Oak Tree at 6 to 7 p.m. I know that it was open till 9 o'clock, but many people went back. We would have won this referendum. But lastly, please support the teachers. I don't want to hear next month coming back, the teachers are on strike, the contract has to be signed, and we are ready to adjust the budget. This budget is not approved by the public until the teachers' salaries are given and they are satisfied. Thank you.
Gazala Bora, 1 Miko Drive. I'm not sure how many of the board members have been to the elementary schools here in district, but as a PTA member and officer, I walk in every day. And it's been a very sad sight for the last week because all the bulletin boards are empty in elementary schools. And it breaks my heart. Those are not the hallways. If you've ever been inside an elementary school, those are the most bright, most cheerful hallways because every teacher puts in a lot of time and effort to display the students' projects, artwork on the bulletin board. If they ever change it, it happens transparent to the students. So they'll go home, when they come back next day, they see their different artwork displayed. They take pride in walking into their classrooms when they see their work. It was blank the last week. The school hallways were really sad, and it was a very small statement the teachers were making because this is not part of their job. They do it because they care. They do it because they love these little children who are 4 years old to 10 years old, 11 years old, who take pride in the work that they do. I, as a parent, am standing here today not just speaking for the teachers, I am speaking for my children. Their education is now getting affected. We, as a district, have taken too long to decide on the teacher's contract. They always give in. Every time that they've asked for something, they've been the ones who gave in because you know, the fight went on too long and the students were suffering. This one time they've decided time's up, and now we're seeing the effect on our children, and I request the board to please let this not affect our children's education. High school seniors are not getting recommendation letters from the teachers. Again, a very small statement because this is not part of their job. They care, they're doing a whole lot on their working day. My support is is 150% for the teachers. I am not blaming them for whatever I'm saying is not happening right now. I'm blaming the board for not doing something that we've been asking time and again every month in the board meeting. We need to decide on this contract because slowly and steadily our children's education is suffering. So this is not just about the teachers anymore. It is about our children. It is about the quality of education in this town. We need to do something and we need to do it fast. Thank you.
Good evening. Chrissy Skirby, 21 Preakness Drive. As a parent in the district, I've had the opportunity to know our fantastic teachers at Oak Tree, at Applegarth, at the middle school, at Barclay Brook, at Brookside, at the high school. They are second to none in our district. They are fantastic. They are not just teachers. They are like our family. When I stood in the hallway tonight alongside of them, I started to tear up thinking about their struggle here. It is not right. We ask them to do the very best for our children, and they are. They deserve us to do the best back for them. I would like to point out that the budget, a few years back, it was taken away from the voters of Monroe Township, the budget. The budget used to go out to vote to the township residents, and this board voted to take that voice away. And I think it's about time that this board reevaluates that. We do not need to go only to a 2% cap. We don't have to stay under 2%. If we cannot make the teachers' contracts right and fair and adequate, then we need to go above cap and go out to the residents. Obviously, you see this room is filled. I'm sure every single resident in this room would vote for a budget that gave the teachers a fair contract. It is not fair what this board did, and I know there are members that are on this board currently that at that time voted no for it and stood up for the voice of the residents. And unfortunately, it was not voted for. Our voice as residents were taken away, and I'm asking this board, give us back the voice to allow us to have a fair contract and a fair budget for our teachers.
Good evening. My name is Andy Polori. I live on 16 St. James Street. I have two daughters. One of them is actually born in Monroe. The older one just is going to be graduating from high school. Already got admitted into the college, thanks to the teachers of Monroe Township. My younger one is in the 6th grade, and she goes to the middle school. Both of them always wanted to become teachers. Having heard what I heard over the last hour or so, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that they're not going to be the teachers. It's very unfortunate because my dad was actually a professor and I came from a family of teachers. I'm going to say something that I'm born and brought up back in India, and please bear with me, all of you. It's in Sanskrit. It says, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Guruve Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. What is it? Guru means teacher. Teacher is the creator. Teacher is the enforcer. Teacher takes you to the next level. And the last sentence actually talks about respect towards the teacher, which is above and beyond the respect you have for your own parents. So that's the culture a lot of these people who are moving into Monroe bring to Monroe Township. So having said that, I have been standing up here at the podium, been asking the Board of Education for well over 6 months about this contract. And also, even before that, we were talking about the number of teachers leaving the district as well. So we haven't seen much change in that course. And as of right now, we have a serious issue with the teachers' contract. And we talked about solving this. I understand the financial constraints we have. I did everything in my power to make sure that the referendum passed, but there's a lot of political elements that worked against it. And it's very unfortunate, as Prakash said, that the teachers were not behind it. Maybe we would have had a little bit more money to negotiate if the contract did go through, if the referendum did go through. But it is time we solve the problem of the teachers' contract. Hopefully we solve it tonight. Thank you.
Pastores. I've been teaching in the district for 6 years. I graduated with my master's in education from Rutgers University. I was recently honored with Mill Lake's Teacher of the Year, and my take-home salary is $26,000. It's disgusting. I want to move to this district to raise my kids here, have them go to the school that I teach in, and I'm reconsidering. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kira Sears. I'm a senior here. My mom is a teacher, my dad is a teacher, my brother and sister are teachers, and you may think that makes me biased, but I think it makes me informed. I know that teachers are the most important part of a functioning society because an educated population is absolutely necessary for a functioning society. But I'm speaking in ideals, and this is obviously not an ideal situation because we have hardworking teachers who put their heart and soul into making us better human beings every day, and having to work second and third jobs because you are not paying them what they deserve. I wish I could detail exactly what each teacher in the school has done to help me and better me as a person. But I think at some point these teachers would like to go home to their families. And they could, if you pay them for all the work they do and not for society's jaded view of the education system. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, then at this time, I'm going to close the public forum for the budget. And if there are no further comments or questions from the board, we'll have a roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mrs. Carino.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, the 2018-2019 tentative budget has passed.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to our student board member report.
Thank you. DECA held its state conference at the end of February in Atlantic City. 13 students qualified for the international conference in Atlanta.
Can you use your microphone?
Yeah. 9 students got awarded the Certified Guest Service Professional Award as well. DECA would like to thank the board for approving this trip. FBLA held its state conference as well. Despite the trip getting short because of the snowstorm, there were still 27 students that advanced to nationals. Also, on March 14th, many students participated in a 17-minute Walk for Peace march in efforts to end school shooting tragedies and support families who lost their lives in Parkland and other communities. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21 to discuss the following subject: superintendent contract, contract extension, and matters falling within the attorney-client privilege with respect to the subject. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session will be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Chiarella, second by Mr. Ryback. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then at this time, the board will move into closed session. I'm thinking maybe about a half an hour, hopefully a little less. At this time, the board will move back into public session. And Mr. Gorski, may we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Arminio. Mr. Braverman. Mr. Chiarella. Mrs. DeMayo.
Here.
Mrs. Lang.
Here.
Mrs. Carino. Mr. Ryback.
Here.
Mr. Russo. Mr. Rutsky, and Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Madam Board President, with only 4 members in attendance, we are short of the 6 required for a quorum, which means, as you know, the board cannot conduct business any further this evening.
Okay, so again, we have to apologize for everybody coming out. There were a lot of ramifications for not being able to have a meeting this afternoon because of some personal agendas for some board members. We cannot approve any personnel recommendations or field trips. We cannot approve a policy to have armed in-house retired police officers, which means that the recommendation or the work that we're doing with the township will end in May, and we will not have a policy in place. We will not have an approval for the school calendar as of now. I'm not even quite sure what that means, or when we'll be going to school and when we won't. We cannot pay off our vendors. We cannot have professional development with staff. We cannot approve field trips, student teachers. And the board authorization to go out for an RFP for food service is not able to do that. So at this time, we will adjourn the meeting and see what happens come April. Thank you.